as many engines on the island of Sodor. Some big, some small, some red, and some blue. But the Fat Controller figured he needed another big engine to help out with the large coal trains that go over the hill all the way to the mainland. Hank was at the works for a broken piston rod being overworked, and Murdoch was on the other side of the island. So Sir Topham Hatt assigned Diesel and Dennis, his two shunter diesels, to take over until a new engine was available. Diesel and Dennis hated coal. They figured Sir Topham Hatt would get a new diesel. But they were wrong. The new engine arrived at the docks early. They could only see the engine from the back, and it looked huge. They slowly rolled alongside the engine. The engine had 8 bright red drive wheels with shiny black paint and 2 big headlamps. The engine looked down at the 2 diesels disapprovingly. "Oh, hello, you two," the Fat Controller said to Dennis and Diesel. The new engine came early. Diesel looked up at the engine. "He may be big, but I doubt as strong as me." The new engine blew a cloud of steam. "Do I look like a boy to you?" she hissed. "My name is Annaleah, and I can pull twice as heavy trains as you." Topham Hatt chuckled. "Settle down, Annaleah," he said. "I know you have had a long trip from Prussia. You can rest in your new shed until tomorrow. Diesel, show Annaleah the way to Knapford Sheds, please." Diesel didn't want to, but he had to anyway. "Follow me," he sighed. So, Annaleah followed Diesel. That night, Annaleah was the only steamy in the shed. Diesel snickered. Now was the perfect time for his teasing. "Clank, clank, clank, can a steamy be any louder?" Annaleah opened one eye. "That's just my boiler cooling down." "And you aren't so quiet yourself, Diesel. You growl in your sleep." The other Diesels laughed until they realized she meant all of them. The next morning, the Fat Controller came to the sheds. "Diesel, fill up with the coal trucks for Annaleah, please. You can resume your shunting duties now that I have a stronger engine." Annaleah smirked at Diesel, and he growled away to make the train. Diesel grumbled to himself as he shunt the trucks in place. But then, he had a naughty idea. Diesel quietly rolled into the line of oil tankers and brought one to the front of the train. His driver opened up the bottom, and slippery oil spilled on the tracks. "Not so strong are you now, Steamy?" And he purred away to tell Annaleah her train was ready. Annaleah confidently backed up to her train, was coupled up, and blew her whistle. "Bye, little Diesel," she called, and tried to set off. Her wheels slipped on the patch of oil. Diesel laughed as she struggled. Suddenly, Leah's Sanders turned on, and the mighty engine pulled out of the yard. "Grrr," Diesel growled. His plan failed. Annaleah was too smart. Meanwhile, Annaleah was enjoying herself. Coal dust flew everywhere, but she didn't mind. Getting dirty was fun. Her driver leaned out of the cab. "We're making good time," her driver called. Annaleah whistled cheerfully. The Sodor scenery was wonderful. Back at Knapford Yards, Diesel had had enough. He wanted to show Sir Topham Hatt he was stronger than a steamy. But how? Just then, he remembered the long line of oil tankers. Annaleah would be stopped at a red signal to let the express pass by, so maybe he could catch up and beat her over Gordon's Hill. So Diesel grabbed as many as he could and strained out of the yard. Annaleah stopped at a signal at Wellsworth Station. Emily and Gordon steamed by with the express. "Hello, Annaleah," they whistled. Diesel was panting when he caught up to Annaleah. "What are you doing here, Diesel?" Annaleah asked. "The Fat Controller needs you back at the yards." Diesel snickered. "Meet you at Vickerstown." The signal turned green. "Oh, you're on." Annaleah loved to race. They zoomed up the hill. But halfway, there was trouble. Diesel didn't realize he brought the leaky oil tanker. Diesel slipped to a standstill, and Annaleah passed him. Then suddenly, Diesel started slipping backwards. "Help!" Diesel yelled. Annaleah braked hard. Even though Diesel was troubled, she had to save him. She uncoupled from her train and chased after Diesel. Diesel slid past Wellsworth. Annaleah reached her full speed. People at the stations had never seen such a sight before. "Hold on, Diesel!" Annaleah called. "Hurry!" The ground shook as the heavy engine sped by. She was almost close enough to Diesel, but Annaleah hadn't much time. Knapford Bridge was under construction, and he was heading right for it. Annaleah grabbed onto Diesel and braked as hard as she could. The train started slowing down. Workman ran out of the way. He was getting closer and closer. The brake van rolled off the edge of the bridge, just hardly holding on. Diesel closed his eyes, wincing. He didn't want to look. The workmen ran back, putting support beams under Diesel. "Get a crane!" one yelled. "No," Annaleah said. "There isn't time." Annaleah turned on her sanders and slowly pulled, using all her strength. The broken bridge groaned. Diesel and his train slowly started to move. A temporary support beam gave way. Annaleah's steam was black, and sparks shot from her funnel. Just as Diesel and his train were pulled to safety, the bridge collapsed. That night, Diesel was quiet. He was embarrassed. "I'm sorry. Thanks for saving me," Diesel said quietly. The engines gasped. Diesel was apologizing? "It's okay," Annaleah smiled. "I'm glad to help." Diesel yawned. "Yes," he said. "Friends? Friends." Annaleah was happy to be a Sodor engine. The next morning, the Fat Controller had a surprise for Annaleah. At Knapford Station, all the engines were there to welcome Annaleah and congratulate her for her heroism. "For your reward, you shall have a new coat of paint." "Oh, thank you, sir." "Welcome home, Annaleah." And all the engines whistled and honked. Annaleah could only smile. The end.